Hi there YouTube, Sad Womble here. Today I'd like to talk about how women are outnumbering men at college and why this is actually ruining women and empowering men. And yes, I really do mean that. Okay, let's think about this. Currently, we're getting the statistics therein, and apparently like 65 or 70% of all the new enrollees into college are women. Now, this is obviously a huge success for women and a huge disaster for men. But let's think about this. What are the fields that these women are going for? Does this mean that the STEM fields are now jam-packed full of women? Is it a sea of estrogen in the maths classes? Are women, women beanies, is that as far as the eye can see in maths classes and chemistry lessons? Are all the chemistry lessons filled with women looking at Bunsen burners and worrying about things? Or perhaps not. No, I would suggest that the majority of the women who are doing these courses are doing gender studies, arts degrees, history, soft subjects, and there's nothing wrong with these soft subjects, but they're no real use. Being a gender studies major is fantastic, but it's probably not really going to get you anything except being a college professor of gender studies. You're going to leave your college, and of which more in a moment. I just want to backtrack for a second and talk about something else. So there will always be some women, of course, who will have gone into the STEM fields, but they would have gone into the STEM fields anyway. There's a very famous one from the 1950s, I will have to admit, called Rosalind Franklin. She helped discover DNA with Crick and Watson, for those of you who know your heavy-duty science, And, she worked with a guy called Maurice Wilkins, and she did a lot of the calculations and stuff to actually discover DNA. Sadly, unfortunately, she died of cancer before the Nobel Prizes were given out, and the Nobel Federation of Nobel Prizes aren't allowed to be given posthumously. But she is in the paperwork as being, one of the creators. But Crick Watson and Maurice Wilkins got the stuff. Anyway, I digress. So just to point out that, no, there are phenomenally clever women out there, and they are doing STEM, but they're not the majority. The majority are doing soft topics. And of course, this means we've still got the men doing, the men are still going into, maths and chemistry and science and physics and, nuclear this and astronomy and all the clever stuff, So the thing is, though, men are getting a bit wise to this, and more men are now starting to do online courses and correspondence courses where they don't need to actually interact with women, because, as we know, colleges are hugely toxic to men now, with all these required anti-rape lessons that you have to sign up for and all this, and basically everything that you walk in, and the moment you walk in, you are told that you are a toxic male, and every woman it could be rape allegations and all sorts of nasty. So men are actually learning how to learn in ways that don't involve accessing women at college. And I think this is hugely empowering for men. Now, the other thing that's hilarious, of course, is that this will continue to provide men with gainful employment, because if you're a man and you live in a STEM field, with a degree, initially you'll think, oh, well, all the women, all these fantastic women, they're going to have these degrees, and all the universities and all the companies are going to snap up all these STEM women. Well, there still aren't very many of them. So men are still going to get jobs in all the STEM fields, and okay, you're going to have potentially, positive discrimination to weed out as many men as you can, but there'll always be more men out there, and there'll be more posts out there available, because most of these women are taking ridiculous courses like gender studies. Now, the other hilarious thing I find about this is the debt problem, the student debt problem. So men are going to university by whatever means. They are going into STEM fields. They are getting their degrees. They are then going into these STEM jobs, they are getting these high-paid jobs, happy days. They are still saddled with debt, but they get the jobs that which then enable them to get to pay off their things. Women, of course, this huge 70% or 69% or whatever it is percentage increase of women going to these colleges. Fantastic. Yay. Yay, women. Fantastic, girls. Yeah, you're now saddling yourselves with between $25,000 is the average. And some are saddling themselves up to $100,000 in student loans. Now, are you going to become a nuclear physicist with that $100,000 loan? No. You're going to be a gender studies major for $100,000. $100,000 potentially. You know, I like the bigger number because it sounds good. So you've spent $100,000, which is an utterly worthless degree and a huge sum of money, just so you can walk around going, men are shit, men are shit, the world is shit, and so are men. Men are the secret of all the problems. You've spent $100,000 to be told that, to be able to say that with some level of certainty, to be able to say, I know all men are shit, the patriarchy is everything, rape culture is real, and I can prove it because I've got a bit of paper here that cost me $100,000. Do you want fries with that? Now, really, what possible use is this huge influx of women into college? As I say, there will always be a certain number of women who will go into STEM fields, but they would have gone into STEM fields anyway. I went to college and I did a computer science degree with some very clever women. I have to admit that probably on my course there were probably about 10 women and 90 men. This is true. But those 10 women went there in the 80s when I did my college stuff. They were desperately clever and they will have gone on to greatness. They didn't need positive discrimination and all the nonsense we have now. But what do we have now? We have all these incentives for women to go to college, and they have dutifully gone to college. But what have they done? They've done these nonsense degrees. And that's why I say it's still empowering for men and it's ruining women, because it's ruining women's lives. They'll have this huge saddle of debt and they will leave it with no usable skills at all. So, how's feminism helped you there? Yeah, Sad Womble, out.